Hi, Phil Aston here from Now Spinning Magazine. The internet is awash with Deep Purple news at the time of me doing this. And I'm one of those people who are excited, apprehensive, and wondering what all this was going to be about. It has been announced that Deep Purple's classic Made in Japan album from 1972 is coming up for its 50th anniversary, and there's a whole range of special editions and super deluxe sets that are coming out to mark the occasion. This news came out literally without anyone noticing it. Even the PR companies that were soon to press the button to send it to people like me were actually behind the label in their excitement to get this news out. Finding out that Steven Wilson has done a Dolby Atmos and remix of this classic live album. At first I thought, well, I loved Steven Wilson remixes and think, but this is rock, this is metal, it's usually prog and pop and all sorts of things. But of course, he did that a marvellous job on Sabbath's Volume 4 and Technical Ecstasy. Also, we have Rigby Digby Smith even doing the remix on the album this time. So different from Kevin Shirley and Martin Paulin and all the different versions of this album that have been. And let's just talk about that. And this is why I'm probably stumbling over some of my words here, is that my history with this album goes back to the beginning. This here is the version I bought from Woolworths in Sheldon for £3.25 at the end of 1972, 1973. So it became my favourite live album then, when I was slightly younger than I am now. And that edition just followed me through my life until the emergence of the CD, when I eventually bought Live in Japan, which is a Japanese CD of that album. And then, of course, there was a whole plethora of different versions. On the floor, you can see other versions of Made in Japan, including the 2014 remastered edition on vinyl. Also, the Live in Japan version, the Japanese version called Live in Japan. And then we had the 3 CD version, which came out with, this was the first time in 1993 when you could hear all the concerts and try and work out for yourself, did they pick the right tracks for the singular album that came out all those years ago. Then in 1999 there was yet another remastered version. And of course in 2014 was what was called then the Super Deluxe Edition, with 3 CDs, or 4 CDs, and a DVD with the story behind it as well. Seen then as being the definitive version of this classic Deep Purple live album. So, when I saw that it was a 50th anniversary, what were my thoughts? Actually, initially it was, again, am I going to have to buy this album again? Do I need to? What can it give us that we haven't had with the most recent editions? And, of course, at Now Spinning Magazine, I have done extensive videos on Made in Japan, giving advice on which versions to seek out and to listen to, and what my thoughts are on the album, which have had tens of thousands of views. And I know that here on this channel, there are many, many Deep Purple fans that listen to me talk about Purple. And that is why I'm doing this little video based on the only track that's available at the time of me doing this, which is Highway Star from the 16th of August in Japan, which was obviously on the official live album, which is available to stream, mixed by Steven Wilson. I'm also going to talk about what the prices are, because lots of you are asking, and this is why I'm doing this, because I know lots of you people want to know what my thoughts are. So I've hinted there that my initial reaction was, oh, what's this going to be like? Do we need to do this? Is it really necessary? But I thought, well, I need to stream the track and see what I think. And to do this properly, I stream this through Apple, lossless, through my network streamer, Cambridge Audio network streamer, through my HiFi, through my Denon amp, at a volume that was probably not as loud as the original gig, but I wanted to feel exactly what this was going to be like. So I sat in the middle of the speakers. I had my floor standing speakers a fair distance apart to really feel the soundstage and to really immerse myself in music when I listened to it. I closed my eyes, so like shut down one of my senses, and I pressed play. All those concerns I had, wondering, was this necessary, just melted away completely. It was totally amazing. And do you know the things that really stuck out, first of all, that I haven't noticed on any other remastering, any other versions of this album, which I've known for decades. I've played Highway Star, probably the most played track from Made in Japan in my life. So I know this track backwards and forwards. I've taken it everywhere with me, on holidays, when it was on cassette, everything. It's always been with me. So I know this version of this track. I know Made in Japan. I've known it for so a long time. So I'm very sensitive to anything that's different. And it's very hard to let go of each time that you know, based on what you've known before. But the drums and the bass were the first thing that leapt out to me. It was so different. Ian Paice's kit was solid, full, powerful, as if you were there. And I'm going to mention this again in a moment. But it was so detailed that you could hear Pace when he hit the rim of the drums. You could hear that. And Roger Glover's bass. This was so exciting because at this point, Roger Glover is playing the Rickenbacker bass, and a Rickenbacker has a specific kind of sound. The player that took this to a certain direction would be Chris Squire from Yes. It was that kind of really kind of rattly bass guitar sound. It's the Rickenbacker. At that time in the early 70s, many bass players were using them. This is the first time that I've heard Roger Glover, and it's obvious he's playing a Rickenbacker bass, because there's that rattle to it. You can literally hear his plectrum against the strings as his fingers press the strings down on the fretboard. I'm being serious. You can hear that, and this is me streaming it. This is detail I've not heard before. Also for Ian Gillan, I know, of course, I know all the words, but you could hear each word clearly. Absolutely clear. You could hear every single word. It's absolutely amazing. Now, some people have said already that they feel that Blackmore, it's a bit quiet in the mix. Now, I know what people mean by that, but I think it's because it's very hard to let go of what you already know. So is he quiet in the mix, or was he too loud in the mix before? You know, was the focus so much on guitars? Because he's on the left-hand side, which I know on stage he's on the right. I mean, there's a whole history of how this has moved backwards and forwards, but he's on the left-hand side. And I don't feel actually that Blackmore is quiet or in the mix. I think he's the right volume for where John Lord is when the song is being powered along, and all the musicians are at the right point and the dynamic for this live performance. So you can hear Blackmore. He's completely over here. He's not bleeding out into the centre area, and John Lord is over on the right-hand side, and again not bleeding out into the middle or whatever. They are where they are, and it sounds fantastic. But obviously where it's absolutely spot on is when John Lord takes his solo. John Lord, obviously, because Stephen Wilson is mixing it like a live gig, so John Lord comes up in the mix, and you hear every note of that wonderful beast of a Hammond organ solo there, you know, with all those runs, and you can hear Blackmore following along at certain parts, and obviously the interplay between, you know, Glover and Pace as well. It's interesting, you know, the original album, you know, but Pace and Glover are heavily involved with the original mix, but here they are now, and you can hear them better than you've ever heard them. And then, of course, as we come out of the third verse after Lord's solo, and we're going into Blackmore's guitar solo. And this is where there is no doubt. There's no doubt that Blackmore's position here in the mix is just perfect, because it goes into that solo that has always completely blown my mind. In fact, as I say this to you now, I can feel the hairs going up on the back of my neck as I even try and describe it. And I've heard this thousands and thousands of times. But hearing it this morning like this was absolutely incredible. You actually think that this is a Fender Stratocaster. This hasn't got humbuckers or, you know, special pickups or whatever going through, you know, the latest state-of-the-art distortion pedals. This is just an overdriven Marshall amp with a Fender Strat with single coil pickups. And you're hearing this absolutely dirty rock sound of the guitar, the notes just spilling out, and also the use of the tremolo arm. You can almost hear the strings almost crying out in agony at the back of the Strat, really, as it tries to stay in tune. But that as we go into that motif that we know so well in this solo, and then the really fast triplets, it's incredible. It's incredible that Blackmore doesn't even trip over himself at this point. And then, of course, he almost seems to do his absolute best to destroy all the strings with the tremolo arm attack at the end. And you think, how can any guitar stay in tune at this point? It's just absolutely, it's like the end of Hard Loving Man from In Rock. It's just as if he's trying his best just to destroy. It's incredible. It's a highway star. It's all the things you'd expect for rubber hitting the tarmac and the what the song's about. It's just amazing. And then we're out of that and we're back into the last the verse and, of course, the chorus. And as it ends just as it did on the original vinyl all those decades ago for me. But the difference here, as I said, I listened to this with my eyes shut, and this is why I'm taking a leap of faith, but am I? Based on one track that I've streamed. This will definitely be my reissue box set of the year based on this one track. It is because I've listened to this album so many times that what happened at the end, as you hear the crowd, the ambience come up, and this is just streaming in 2-channel, and it's going to be a Dolby Atmos. It's going to be amazing, isn't it? Is that with the sound of how it comes to an end and Gillan and the way he's positioning on the mic and everything, and this is 8-track. They're running around the stage. Imagine the bleed that's going across the channels. Stephen Wilson is an absolute wizard at this. But I actually felt that if you'd have put me in a time machine and taken me back to the coordinates of Japan in August 1972, it was like being in the audience and listening to this gig live. It was like being there. That is how this made me feel. And bearing in mind that I entered this feeling, another one, this is another one I'm going to buy. But again, I thought afterwards, well, it's not aimed at me. This is aimed at people that missed in all these other versions. They're so hard to find anyway. But no, if you're 22, 15, 35, 42, and you keep hearing about Made in Japan, this is going to be the version. This is going to be the version to listen to. As Andy Olds, one of my patrons, says, maybe the mix will just take another layer of dust off it. And I was thinking, there's no, my original Martin Birch one from 72, from Woolies, £3.25, still sounds good to me. It does. But this is a totally different experience. So, what versions are there that you can go for? I'm going to show you this so that, because I know some of you are trying to work out what you can and cannot find. So this is on the official Deep Purple website. There is a Made in Japan 2LP t-shirt version for 40, is it? Have I got that right? No, I haven't. £62.99. There's a Made in Japan t-shirt deluxe 10LP version, because there are 2 box sets. There's a CD box set and there's a vinyl box set. So some of you may not want to know that you can get one with a pair of socks in it, or a t-shirt, or a beanie hat, or whatever. So basically the CD version, which is 5 CDs and a Blu-ray, is £65. I think that, compared with some of the box sets I've been talking about on this channel, is well priced. And full credit to the label here, who could have easily thought, you know what, we could push this to 100. It's the kind of thing that some other labels would do with far less discs in than that, and booklets and stuff. The 10 LP set is 200. That's a lot more, but it's 10 LPs, and it's up to you. You have a choice if you want to go for that. But it does contain, they've even put, whereas the previous vinyl box set, Super Deluxe set, didn't have the encores. It was just the 3 concerts on 3 double albums. here you get the encores on vinyl as well, so that's why there are 10 LPs, which is, so it's a bigger set than the one from 2014. So you can see here you've got lots of choice. You can even buy a hoodie, and you can buy the socks on their own as well. I think they're £20 if you don't want to get them in the set. And the vinyl album on its own is £35, which for a double album I don't think is a bad price at all. So just bring the camera back to where I was. So that is a look at how much it is. And when does it come out, Phil? You haven't told us when it comes out. Okay. When do you think it's going to come out? When would you bring out something like this if you were bringing it out on the 50th anniversary? Got to be August the 15th, hasn't it? That was the first date they played. That was the night that Smoke on the Water was taken from. So it's August the 15th. So get your engines running. Check out the pre-release links are down below this description. But I am really excited about this. This is going to be such a fantastic release. And am I going to be doing an in-depth unboxing video on the CD and the vinyl set? You bet I am. And it will be very detailed. So make sure you subscribe to make sure you don't miss that, because I'm going to try and do it obviously before the release date if at all possible, and also I'm going to try and line up some interviews with some of the key people as well if at all possible. So thank you for watching, thank you for being here. Remember, music is the healer and the doctor. Become a Patron or YouTube member, get some merch with a discount, and keep spinning those discs. There's so much to look forward to here on Now Spinning Magazine. Take care all of you, and I'll talk to you all very, very soon.